I'm back. I'm not sure if anyone else is. Okay, chat. All right. See if anybody logs back in. All right. Hey, welcome back if you're if you're returning. Hey, all right, I got comments up. What's up, Rip? Just doing a little weekend flint knapping practice. My day's going well. I was doing this for a little while here, but I wasn't getting any chat window, so I logged off and came. Just doing a little flint knapping. I'm working on this small projectile point or knife. They're kind of indistinguishable at this stage, so either one. Let's see. I need to. Thank you very much. Wow, Suprit, watching from India. That's awesome. Thanks for joining. Is there a known history of flint knapping in your area? I bet there is if you go far enough back. It's kind of common world. I am in the United States. I'm New England, which is the upper northeast portion. So it's very cold here right now. This is pressure flaking. I put the tool on the edge and press, and it pushes off flakes. Can you see that in there, that little flake? It came off from the edge right here. This is coming along. This could be a little knife if I don't break it, which is very possible. Breaking the pieces happens regularly. It's part of the process, unfortunately. So, pretty symmetrical. I can work on that. It's getting pretty thin, which is nice. There's some spots that I could improve. Okay. Thanks, Rip. We'll try. I've been practicing a lot because of all of the sort of hand skills or crafts that I've tried to learn, and there's been a lot. I'd say this one's the hardest. But at the moment, I just find it the most fascinating. I love it. Hey, Freddie, what's up? Doing a little flint nap. Yeah, Rip. It's challenging because you have to understand the material, the properties of the stone. You can't just hit anywhere. You have to know what to do. You have to prepare a hit and then make the hit properly, breaking it. A lot of things can go wrong. And so, you know, I've got a million examples of just ones that I've broken in half. When you get quite good at it, which, you know, I'm not yet, that happens. But until that day comes, a lot of it's broken. Yeah, it's pretty easy to ruin it. I'll just grab a broken one right here. Yeah, so I was working on this, I don't know, it was a long, big piece, and too much pressure in the middle, and it just broke right in half. So, often if the piece isn't supported well, and this has gotten small enough now that I've stopped using the percussion like that, and I've switched over to pressure. So I'm just pushing the flakes off, little flakes, and it's much more controlled. Oh, well, thank you. That's kind of you to say. This is something I've been trying to learn for a long time, and it's now become like, you know, something I do almost every day. I just push the flake off. I can show you that in more detail. So what I need to do is find a low spot. So let's say right here, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is hold that against this pad, and then put the tip on that low spot, right on the low spot, and then I'm gonna use my arms and my legs to squeeze, to push that tip into the stone until it makes a small flake. And you can see where I've done that. See how there's lines going like this? Those are flakes that I've taken off from that. So you do it on this side and this side, flip it over, this side and this side. How sharp you make it? Pretty sharp. That said, so when I started, I was using a big piece like this, right? And knocking off large flakes. So a big flake like this comes off. Now this just waste flake is actually the sharpest tool that I can make. So even though this has a nice shape and can be made into some plan that I have, if all I need is a sharp tool to slice something, then these wakes are the sharpest things. And so where you find these places, archaeological sites where these tools were made, there'll be a whole bunch of flakes on the ground. Like, hold on. Can you see at my feet there? You'll find just a ton of these flakes because it's a byproduct of trying a specific tool, and because these could be a tool in themselves. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you a demo. So here's a nice thick piece of leather. Okay? And here's a flake that I knocked off earlier. It's nothing special. I haven't modified it in any way. I'm going to hold it in my hand and then I'm going to slice it. You see that? That is very thick leather. Very sharp. Super sharp. In fact, much sharper than surgical steel. A little tidbit. This is another kind of stone that you can do this with. It's called obsidian. This is volcanic glass. And they actually use flakes of obsidian to do ivory because it's so sharp. They can make very fine incisions, do whatever they need to do, and then because it's so fine, it heals really, really well. So it's incredibly sharp. So you might wonder, well, then why am I doing all of this? Well, it depends on what you're trying to make. So on an archaeological site, if you find a whole bunch of these small flakes, chances are that whoever had made them, they were using these flakes as tools. For instance, maybe carving or cutting plants, processing meat. They would use them for a while and then throw them away. But the archaeologists can look at the edge under magnification, and they can tell if it's been used for a cutting task. The edge will break in very fine little chips, and it will also get polished. So if the right person looks at it, they can say, ah, somebody used this as a tool and then discarded it. A tool like this, let's say that I'm making a knife, and eventually I would, haft it to a handle of some sort. It's sharp, but it's not like razor sharp. It's kind of more like a saw. So if I were to take, see how that kind of a wavy edge? It's almost like a serrated knife. So if I take this piece of wood, this is oak, this is very hard wood, and rub it back and forth like a saw. You can see the cut that I just made. So if you can imagine a world where you don't have metal, then this would be your slice tool. This would be your scalpel, or your small knife. This would be your saw and sort of knife or serrated knife. You can't really like shave pieces of wood, but you can do what I just did there and, cut notches into it. And the same, you could cut notches into bone or antler, many things. And over time, as this becomes dull, you can simply take more pressure, do more pressure flaking to renew the edge. So if this gets a little dull, I can take the pressure flaker and push off new flakes, and that will make the edge sharp again. Go all down one edge, both edges really, both sides of both edges, and you'll end up with a sharp tool again. Yeah, I think this could be a knife that I mount to a handle or something. Hopefully all that made sense. Yeah, but the flakes are incredibly sharp. That's one reason I'm wearing a glove hand. Because often when I'm doing percussion and I'm knocking a flake off, that flake like drops into this hand, and it's very common to get little cuts in here. I don't always wear it, but it's kind of cold today, so I thought it would help. It's a good idea, and glasses are a good idea too. Very sharp. Let's see, I can do a bit more pressure flaking on this. Braid a little bit. Okay. Coming along. Yeah, oh, it's a little bit dangerous. I mean, I cut myself a little bit on this finger right when I started. I did this last night. I cut myself a little bit on this finger. These flakes are very sharp, so yes, it can be a little dangerous. Like you don't want to kneel. You don't want to brush the flakes off with your hands. Instead, I pick this up and shake it out. You don't want them to fall into your shoes or your boots. Eye protection's good idea. Yeah, they're very sharp. So you do need to be careful and realize that it comes with a little bit of risk. So if you do this, if you ever try this, wear eye protection, wear gloves, clean up after yourself, because they are sharp. But that's the idea, right? People needed something, a sharp tool. And for a very, very long time, this was the only way to do it. And I just think that's really cool to think about. How resourceful people, when they didn't have things like metal, they figured out a way. They figured out a way. Key. Yeah, if we don't have tools, we can just make some. That's right. Getting the right kind of stone to do this with, it can be tricky. Like, I don't have good stone around here to do this with. There are some places, but not. So I actually purchased this stone from somewhere else because I want to learn this skill so badly. Okay, it's coming along. Oh, you're learning how to program. Cool. What are you programming in? You're like C or PhD? Visual. Well, Visual Basic isn't really used much anymore. Or one of the frameworks like Anchor. A long time ago I did some stuff like that. That's what I have. That is a good skill to have. Good. Visual. Cool. That is good. Glad to hear that. That will serve you well. Okay. So it's a little asymmetrical. So I'm going to take off a little bit over here to just sort of make this side match this side. Put a bit more of a point on the end by pushing little flakes off. Ah, learn animating. Nice. That's okay. A little bit more, quite a bit more symmetrical. It's a little bit of a high spot right there. Okay. That side looks good. Ooh, blacksmith. Now you're talking. Well, I mean, everything you've said, I just love using my hands. So I was a clock repairer for about 5 years. I had to work, I worked with a lot of metal. Blacksmithing is cool. That's basically the skill that took over from this. All right, we're getting there. So I got a nice little knife blade. So I won't probably haft it tonight, but just to give you some examples of what I could do, I could mount it into a wooden handle, kind of like that. I could mount it into an antler handle like that. Wood, antler, bone. I don't have any suitable pieces of bone right here. The one I made last night is much bigger. And this one is big enough that it fits in my hand. So one way you could put a handle on this is just to wrap this lower part in leather, rawhide, some kind of cords or string. And so it could be used that way. This one is smaller. It's not much for me to hold on to. So I'll probably put it in, I don't know yet. Probably a wooden handle or something. Maybe it could be a little something like this. Yeah, I kind of like that. And I could use this tool to cut the notch in the wood handle. So if this is where I was going to put it into, I could use the tool itself as kind of a saw to start to make that notch down there. Just barely gotten a start. Obviously that would take a little time, but that's the idea. Yeah. Pretty happy with that so far. A little bit more I can do. You can see it's gotten quite a bit thinner since I started. Symmetrical. I've heard of roadblocks, but I don't really know what it is. As time goes on, I seem to be learning about things that are older and older in time. So, you know, I'm learning how to make my own bow and arrow, or stone tools, or how to make my own string. It's just the kind of stuff I did in. So. Okay. All right. One last thing that I could do is switch tools to this very narrow one and start making little teeth in the side of this to kind of act as serrations, or as more of a saw. So I'll start working on that. Just very small flakes that I'll push into the side to make little teeth. And it'll be an even more effective cutting tool that way. I'll show you, can you see those? this edge here. Those are very sharp because I just made little flakes to create. And I'll do those on the other side. All right. So my little knife blade is done. All that I have to choose what kind of handle to put on it. Maybe wood like this. I kind of think that looks nice and will be a good grip for it. Eventually, I'll cut a notch in the end of this, and I'll glue that in there, and then I will wrap it with cord to hold it in. And that is what knives looked like for a very long time. There's a couple people on, and I want to thank you for spending some time with me and learning about flint knapping, keeping me company. I appreciate it. Please take a look at my YouTube channel, subscribe, watch some stuff, like some stuff, and look for me to be on here again sometime soon. Oh, thanks for subscribing, Rip. I appreciate it. I really do. Good luck with your learning code and animating and blacksmithing. I want to hear about that. And we'll see you again soon, okay? Got it. Take care.